What's going on, everybody? It's Game Unboxing Reviews here, and welcome back to another LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga news update. So, just when you thought that we'd heard everything, in this video, I'm of course going to be talking about tons of extremely exciting news, as I go into detail on what you can expect to see from the story, gameplay, combat system, and I'll also be giving you a huge breakdown on everything that we know so far about the massive open world, among many other things. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so first up, I talked a lot about all of the confirmed playable characters in my previous video, but now we also know that the roster currently consists of over 200 playable characters. That is at the moment, because as I said, this is the current size of the roster, as at this time, the official total number of playable characters hasn't actually been finalized yet. So from the sound of it, every character that you want to see is probably already going to be playable in this game, which is obviously extremely exciting news. C-3PO and Luke Skywalker in his black suit from Return of the Jedi have also been confirmed, but again, like I said in the previous video, characters like this were both obviously going to be in the game anyway, but it's always nice to get a confirmation. We also now know that C-3PO actually has the ability to translate languages from other characters, more specifically gonk droids, and he can also fall apart now to the point where you can just play as his body or his legs, and apparently at one point his head was even blown off. And just in case you're wondering, yes, you can absolutely play as the gonk droids. That has been officially confirmed. Next up, let's talk story details. So it has now been officially revealed that all 9 episodes have been split into 5 levels. So that gives us a total of 45 missions that you'll be able to play through in this game. And it has also been revealed that all of the events that take place in each film will now play completely differently to the way that they originally played out in LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga and also LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. So for instance, just to differentiate from the previous games, TT games aren't even covering some of the same points of the stories, at least not in the same way, as something that might have been a level in the past might now actually be a playable section in one of the game's many hub worlds. Another thing that has been revealed is that the team are planning to use a fully voiced cast of actors that people are used to and of course have been approved by Lucasfilm, which I'm thinking means people like the voice actors from the Clone Wars animated series, although the voice actor for Han Solo is also said to be so close to the voice of Harrison Ford, which is great news. Now what's interesting is that the game director James McLoughlin has also revealed that they may actually be looking into adding the option of being able to turn off the dialogue and instead use the classic mumbling, which many players should recall as such a beloved feature in the original LEGO Star Wars games. However, James only mentioned this due to the positive response to the lack of dialogue as seen in the official reveal trailer, so we'll have to wait and see if such an option will actually be part of the final build of the game. Up next, we need to talk about vehicles. So not only can you play as over 200 characters, but you'll also be able to fly over 150 ships. So this is confirmed to have the most vehicles that TT games have ever put into a LEGO video game, and that may not even be counting the land vehicles or even all of the different mountable creatures like Banthas and Tauntauns. Now another thing that has been revealed is that all of the big ships are fully explorable. So for example, you can literally buy the Super Star Destroyer in this game, which is an extremely cool feature in itself, but you also have the option to fly another vehicle inside of it. So then you can actually get out of that vehicle and freely explore the deck of the Super Star Destroyer as well as the hangar. And the same is also said to apply to the Death Star, which is just insane. Moving on, we're now going to be talking about gameplay. So as you probably guessed, this game is running on a completely new graphics engine, and as seen in the brand new screenshots, it beautifully lights up the environment. But this new engine has also allowed TT games to introduce a lot of cool new little pieces of attention to detail, like sand collecting on characters and objects, as well as sand being blown as a speeder flies by, plus much more. The camera controls have also been changed and improved, with the fixed camera angles now being replaced by a much closer and personal, fully controllable cinematic-like 360-degree camera, which will be present at all times, but is very easy to rotate, and is said to be at a very healthy distance and angle when it's in its default position. Now then, onto combat, and first up we have Lightsaber Combat. So these battles are said to be now more fluid and deeper with a natural and realistic feel to them, so it's less about just attacking your enemies until they fall apart, and more about actually pulling off cool combos with a mix of light, mid, and heavy attacks. You'll also of course be able to cut through specific objects using your lightsaber, which will likely be used as a way of progressing through the story and possibly also to find hidden collectibles. As for gunplay, if you're playing as, say for example, Chewbacca with his bowcaster, you will no longer have to lock onto a target and repeatedly press the fire button. Instead, there is now an over-the-shoulder camera, which allows you to freely aim and fire at any of the individual body parts on an enemy. So for instance, if you were to shoot an enemy in the head, you might end up shooting their helmet off, or you'll just do more damage. But if you shoot them in the legs, you can actually separate the bottom of the minifigure from its torso. Each enemy is also said to have a health bar above their heads, and damage numbers will come off them as you hit them. Now the Force is really cool in this game, because this time around you have full control over it, so you're able to completely manipulate any LEGO objects that you find in the environment. You can apparently even manipulate multiple objects at once, such as rocks and bushes, which you can then rotate and even stack up on top of each other. A good example of this is that people were also shown a piece of gameplay which involved Luke Skywalker as he used the Force to throw a rock into a makeshift football goal, which resulted in him doing a celebration animation as he earned a special brick. You can even use the Force in combat to grab and throw your enemies, and there's also Force abilities such as the famous Jedi Mind Trick, which from the sound of it you can actually perform on any character, as demonstrated when the player literally forced a Bantha to dance. And last but most certainly not least, the final thing that we need to talk about is of course the open world. And let me tell you right now, this is hands down the coolest, biggest and most ambitious feature in this entire game. So at the start of the exclusive E3 gameplay demo, the first thing that people saw was a shot of the Millennium Falcon flying through an open area of space over Tatooine, which you can absolutely fully explore. That is until a Star Destroyer literally comes out of hyperspace and appears right in front of you before it starts deploying multiple TIE fighters to swarm your ship, which results in a dynamic dogfight in space. And that is just one of the many random events that can occur while you're exploring the galaxy in this game. After defeating the TIE fighters, the player actually went on to fly down to Tatooine, which triggered a loading screen, and when you hit the atmosphere of a planet, the game will automatically land your ship for you, although there will also be multiple landing points across the planet that you can choose to land on as well, which will unlock as you play through more of the story mode. Now after landing on Tatooine, you are completely free to explore every corner of the planet, and there is a lot to see here, because in terms of locations, you can actually go to the Lars Homestead, which is of course home to Luke's Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and you can actually go inside their house, as well as check out the moisture farm, and even Luke's workshop, where you can see his T16-Sky Hopper, or you can choose to venture out further into Tatooine and visit Ben Kenobi's house, Mos Espa, Jabba the Hutt's palace, the Sarlacc Pit, Anchorhead, which is said to be home to Ewoks, and even the town of Mos Eisley, as well as Chalmun's Cantina interior. So this sounds like an absolutely incredible recreation of the planet from the films. There's also a lot to do on the planet itself, such as ride a Bantha, drive a land speeder, fight some Tusken Raiders, or even just do the usual side missions and open world activities, which apparently this time actually earn you studs that allow you to upgrade your ships. The player also isn't forced into anything, so after you have, say for example, defeated the Rancor as Luke, which is confirmed to be part of the game, you can freely choose whether to keep exploring or continue the story by heading to the mission at Jabba's sail barge. Now if you've had enough of Tatooine, you can hop back into your ship, use hyperspace to get back into space, and then choose which planet you want to travel to next, in addition to sector travel using hyperspace. The hub menu is also said to look absolutely gorgeous, with mini LEGO sets representing each film, such as Luke and the Wampa for The Empire Strikes Back, and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi against droidekas for The Phantom Menace. Last thing to mention is that there are 20 explorable planets in total, and so far we only know of 12, those of course being Tatooine, Geonosis, Dagobah with an explorable version of Yoda's Hut, there's also Starkiller Base, Hoth, Cloud City, Naboo, which I personally really hope has Otogunga, which we can swim down into because that would be amazing. There's also Coruscant, which we know will feature the Uscru District, Mustafar, which I really hope features Vader's castle from Rogue One. We also have Utapau, Crait, and Rebel Base. However, this screenshot also seems to suggest that Kashyyyk is in the game as well, which is extremely likely, but at this time has yet to be officially confirmed. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video, so I want to thank you all very much for watching, and if you'd like to stay up to date with the latest news on LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, then please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.